Hey all, Pixel here, Improbable Garage, and we're back on the rear bumper. Alright, so this is kind of how we left it last time, except for one slight change, which is that I accidentally sideswiped that backing into the driveway, mangled this in, put a big gash in the fender. Didn't lose the hubcap in that. The hubcap fell off the same day before that happened, so that was a lovely day all around. But this was the side I wasn't really happy with anyway, so I'm not too stressed. That's a bummer, but at the same time, you know, this car's supposed to look beaten and battered, so hey, look, it's got its first real battle scar. So, plan for today, get some detailed greeblies in here, maybe do something with this section, rebuild that in something more interesting, and get some detailed greeblies in here. To that end, I've got some odds and ends that I've snagged since the last time I worked on this. So, managed to snag these things out of a handicap drop floor van. These were basically the extenders for the front seats so that they could be taller for the drop floor and be removable. Had these two joint connectors. The truck was completely wrecked. It had been totaled. So these are no loss. I didn't cut any of the factory wiring harness once the seats and stuff. They were still there. But these are going to look really cool. The plan, I think, is going to be to build something to mount them somewhere in that area, loop them down and in, probably either change this mesh out or wrap it in something more. And then over on this side, I've got these things, one old and one new. These are the dryers from the Passat. This is the one that came off of it. This is the spare because I ordered too many and I forgot to return it. So I'm thinking like maybe one mounted there and maybe one mounted there, and then some sort of hoses or something connecting them to the bottom. They've got like a hole, and then they've got a threaded hole next to each one, so I should be able to make something that'll hold just a plain rubber hose or something in there pretty easily. But I think that'll be a cool way to fill this space, because you'll have one taking up that, and then once I move this and move that, another one tucked tightly up in there. And then I don't have to build some sort of cover plate over here because that's now using up that space. This little thing was never supposed to be there permanently. I put a bunch of extra cabling on it for wherever I ended up putting the side marker. So I think I'm just going to weld a little bracket on over here and mount it down there. Alright, so this is the little fill panel that used to be in there. There's a piece that goes over top of it. I took that off, hacked away until it was just the vertical here and the little plug, and stuck this piece of diamond plate on. I'm not entirely happy that it's diamond plate, but I don't have anything else of a similar thickness right now, so who knows, maybe I'll remake this later, but for now this is what I'm using. Now the connectors, I've cut all the extra wire off because obviously I'm not going to actually use it. One's going to go about there, one's going to go about there. I have these mount plates that were in the other vehicle that I'm not going to use, but they might be useful as a template for drilling the hole maybe. I'm not sure. I definitely can't use them because they're just there's too much extra material. But I need to drill a big hole, so I've got this. So that's going to get a hole drilled to fit this, and then a couple of screws. Do the same thing over here, and that should be all mounted. All right. Still got to do some detail work, but I really fucking like how this has come out. So last thing you saw was that plate on there. I drilled out 2 holes in it, mounted these up. This one ended up having to be shifted this way because I didn't account for where the body kicks out. But those are all now mounted really nice and solid. These come down, go into a set of P-clamps over here, and then they're just tucked into the bumper. They don't actually hook into anything, obviously. I put this little, there's supposed to be a panel that goes all the way down here. I cut it off, put this in. I had to drill a hole to put the screw in to get it to hold because the original mounts I cut away. And for now, there's a piece of tape here, but I'm going to put something else there because a flexible LED strip will fit there. So I need to find a low power one that's not super bright that I can just have hooked into the lights or something that runs there. Still haven't figured out what I'm doing at the end of this, so we're leaving that for the moment. But that fills this area out so well. I love how these now wrap around and go down here. It looks like there's a reason why that's bare. I kind of want to fill this space in, but I think I might do that by boxing off the end of this and then just putting this light there. So another day back in the cube. It might rain today, so I don't know how much we're going to get done. I was doing a little futzing with the cube today. I changed out all of the zip ties that were holding these cabling with these ones I found. These are designed to have a screw screwed into the wall and then you zip tie something to it, like a pipe or something to retain it, but I just like that they're funky and different looking. Also, this cable that used to go back, it's basically invisible when it was installed, so I flipped it around so it comes out the front, then loops up and then just disappears back here, just so that I could take advantage of having built that. So I'm always doing this. I'm always making little minor changes here and there. So this is where we left these installed last time. I stuck a sticker up here that I bought a bunch of Cyberpunk stickers, and that one looked good there. So I got some cable clamps so that I can make some brackets to hold these. I went looking for some sort of interesting pipes or something. I didn't find anything that really grabbed my interest, but I want to install one up here and one down in here. The problem with this one is the bumper kicks in too far, so it ends up kind of sitting on top of it. So what I think I'm going to do, since I don't like that end of the bumper anyway, I'm going to cut this off here and here, right inboard of this bar, and take that one, cut this end off, mount it over there, and then I'm going to remake this one so that it comes out, and the 90-degree bends that I have 2 more left. I can have them come out and basically do a 90 out here somewhere to make a bigger space in here, and then maybe I'll just put a plate or another bar straight down at the end, but that'll give me the space I need and make the ends more interesting and get rid of that end that both I don't like and I damaged. I measured, this side is very slightly less tall than that side, but I think I can either tweak the pipes to fit or there's something I can do in there. Maybe I can cut that lower brace, push it out, and then just add some weld to fill it back in again. But I think that'll solve my bumper problem and my fit problem on this side. This I cut free from over here to get it out of the way. I moved this is the resistor for the LED light, so the blinker doesn't blink too fast. I moved that in and out of the way. That side, nice and easy. Cut it, welded it on. I had to cut that lower support. I just added some. I'm going to grind most of that away. It needs to be welded on the back side, but it's otherwise done. This side, I'm so much happier with this. This came out so good. This is the kind of I wanted something interesting shaped that side never accomplished. The original that side. But yeah, so I decided I was going to wrap them. That was already a thing I said when I did it. But the thing that I decided to do at the last minute was I wrapped this one so that it's further inboard. They were going to both be the same, and then I decided I liked that little bit of a cant there. This piece here, this corner, had this tube sticking out of it. It was part of the, I don't know where the rest, oh, it's over there. It's part of where the headrests slid in. And originally I was just going to try and cut it right at the apex of the corner over here and add more tube. Then I realized that the size of this was just right for the marker light that I have to install anyway. So rather than cut that off and then I have to add a marker light bracket, this will, I can't do it right now because it's all hot, but this will slide right down in there and sit against the surface. I should be able to, with just a little bit of like RTV or some, caulking or something, be able to lock it in there, and then I'll have the marker light mounted. I do have to trim these little ends off, but I really like that. This end needs to be trimmed a little bit more too, but it works really well. I really like that shape so much more. That's such a more interesting shape than what was there. This is, again, all this is just stuff from the seats. That one's really hot. This was, I wanted something at the end of the bar. That looked really good there. I needed something to make sure these tubes weren't just going to crush in here. So a nice piece of steel bar there took care of that. So yeah, that's, other than obviously take it off, weld the backside, and paint it, that is all done, and I like that so much better. This is a much better finished end than what I had before, and that's angled more or less right because I can't see the screen right now. But it gives me room to mount these. This one doesn't mount where it was before exactly. I'm going to have to mount it out a little bit, but it gives me plenty of room to have these in here in some form or another, or something different. It doesn't even really matter, but it gives me more space there. And this also is interesting because it changes the over. This car very much flows down and out. This pulls that back in this one corner. So that's a good, like, that makes that shape more interesting. So this, the bumper needs to come off, get the back welded and get painted. That side's done for the moment. This side I can do some mounting. I need to make some brackets. So I think the next step is make some brackets for these things, because they're going to get mounted in one way or another up here. I was going to have a bunch of hoses and stuff that went up somewhere, but like I said, I couldn't find anything that I liked. So for the moment, I think I'm just going to mount these in this space, and then I can come back in later and tie them into something. So I guess let's make some brackets. The plan is basically really simple. It's going to be a little 90-degree lip to catch the base of it. It's going to come up just enough to have a clamp, and it's going to kick out enough to clear some bolt heads, kick back in enough for another clamp. So basically like that. And that should be nice and simple, be able to drill 2 holes in it and then put bolts wherever. And if I have to make sub brackets that those bolt to, I can easily do that. So yeah, I'm not even going to film that. I'm just going to make them and show you what I made. All right, there we go. You can kind of see the brackets in there. This bracket I ended up making and then largely flattening because it didn't have enough room against this bar. So it's there, but it's smooshed a bit flatter than the other one is, which stands this one out a little bit more. Couple of clamps. I had to trim these. This one, I grabbed the wrong one, which sucks because it's not a stainless clamp. But the other ones are all in. I may put another screw in that one, because this one's not going anywhere, but this one's got a little bit of wobble to it. Obviously this space is still lacking, largely because, you know, these need something connected to them and going into this space. But those are pretty cool as they are. The discrepancy in condition on them bothers me a little bit, but I haven't decided if I'm going to go in and like polish one or the other or both or something. But yeah, I think for now, until I come up with something that I like for this, I think this is how it's going to sit. I need to keep an eye out for some sort of hose or something, some kind of hardware that looks good there. I did these, the original hoses that went into these had a like teardrop shaped fitting with a hole for a bolt, and the fitting part would slide in, that bolt would retain it. I did get bolts that fit those so that I can kind of duplicate that, because there's no threading in the larger holes. But yeah, I think that looks really cool. I like that a lot. And once I have a better idea of what I want to do hose and connector wise, I can do that. The other thing with these is I can swap these up on the brackets. Right now there's a little step that's holding them in place, but I could very easily either unscrew the bracket and flip it and screw it back on, or just bend that tab down and I could turn these around so that the fittings are on the top if that ends up working for future plans. I do very much like that it takes up this previous dead space. That makes me happy because those were always kind of weird and I was trying to figure out what to do with it. So now I've got the electrical connectors on the far side. I've got these on this side holding, you know, taking up that room. So yeah. So next step, pull the bumper off, paint it, and slap it back on again. All right, bumper is installed. Just like the first time around, I managed to have paint issues with the orange. This time, however, half of them were the black. I got the black on my fingers, so when I was taking tape off, I managed to put black fingerprints on it, but that's okay. I will either clean them up if they bother me, or I will leave them as wear and tear. But holy crap, that looks good. Like, got those big honking cables coming in this side. This desperately calls for some kind of light or sensor box or something, but I haven't found anything for that yet. I put my tape back on, and then this side, I love the way that shape ended up being. I've got my turn signal installed, I've got those in, and of course that's going to get hoses and stuff, but like, oh wow, that looks so much more finished. Those two empty spaces are now filled with stuff, so they look intentional. I love that end of the bumper so much better than what I had on that side. So yeah, that's great. One thing I need to start doing is stickering up or something these bumpers too, because I've been putting stickers all over the car as I find cool funky ones, but I need to start doing that to the bumpers too, because of course people would put stickers on the bumpers. So this is my new favorite one. I put a carbon fiber spoiler on the back of the Cube. Yes, I'm not much of a dork. I thought I was done with this yesterday, but then I picked up this light. The blue tint is a protective cover, but I think this will work perfectly in there. So I need to do something with the bracket that it came with, because I mean, it doesn't really matter which orientation, but I think it'll look neater if it's mounted that way. I may mount it further back and do like this rather than angled to match, but we'll figure it out. I'll probably have to move these cables at least a little bit. All right, I've got a plan. I'm going to put a bracket across here with the bolt for the center of it somewhere over here. Originally I grabbed this big honker here, but I realized that needs to be welded on, you know, where I'm trying to weld heavy steel to the edge of very narrow steel. And then I found a chunk of this stuff, which can very easily be set there and either welded or bolted or frankly screwed in place pretty easily. All right, and there we go. Like I said, hacked the end off, just welded it on there. Simple welds, but it's going to be more than enough to hold that bracket and it's the light in place. So I just need to shoot some paint on this, and then I can bolt it on, and then it'll be ready to go back in. All right, and there it is back on the Cube. So this is obviously not hooked up in any way, but this is all solidly bolted in. These are back in place. The whole bumper is reassembled, and I like that. I like that a lot. That fills up that space, so this is not just a bumper carefully guarding nothing. Now there's a big honking light in there. That makes sense why there would be this guard here. This has two modes. There's obviously the bunch of spots, and then but this is just an accent light here. It's a white accent light. So one of the things I want to incorporate in this is a switch that I can flip that's going to turn on a bunch of random accent lights all over the vehicle. Like, you know, that would be one of them. It's going to be, you know, things that light up, LEDs here and there, you know, stuff. I just want it to like look more complicated. I don't have exact plans for that, but that's just a vague sort of thing. And that little accent light down the center will be perfect for that kind of stuff. So I still need to run the wiring for that, obviously, but I'm going to run a couple wires from the front to the back like I did running wires under the hood, so that I've got stuff to tap off of. But that's going to be it for right now on that. I'm not going to worry about wiring it up right this moment, because the next time I'm doing wiring, I'll deal with that as well. But I don't feel like pulling the interior apart to get at it. But that's all set. That looks great. The cabling looks great on this side. I like these things over here a lot. They look really strange and weird and like, what the fuck is that? It definitely needs the hoses and stuff like I talked about, but I'll get to that. I love this bumper end. This looks so great. And yeah, I think I can count this rear bumper as a success. Oh, and another thing, I was missing the hubcap over here. I painted a face on it. That way it looks more intentional. It's not just one rusty wheel. It looks like there's a reason that wheel's off. So that'll hold me over until I either get another hubcap for that or change out the wheels on the Cube. But that's going to be it for now. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Little post-credits bonus. I was rooting around in a box of odds and ends electrical bits from old projects, just seeing if there's anything that would be useful for this. Turns out it's like 80% speakers by volume. But something I did find is this switch. This is a 2-speed axle switch for like an 18-wheeler. I was going to use it years ago. I had a pickup truck that I was going to be putting a 3-speed with overdrive from a 57 Chevy in. So I bought this to operate the overdrive because the factory system was a bunch of sensors and switches that it was impossible to locate. So it was easier to just have the ability to turn the overdrive on and off. And so I was like, I wonder if that would just look cool on the shifter. And it does. It looks freaking amazing on the shifter. But I discovered something else. This collar here is for the reverse lockout. You can't put it in reverse until you lift this collar up, and then it moves over to get into reverse. And that works, but I hate reverse lockouts. They're a pain in the ass, but I'm obviously not going to remove it because then I'll accidentally shift into reverse when I mean to shift into first. Because that's first and that's reverse. They're really, really close. So I put this on thinking, well, it's kind of cool, but, I don't know. Maybe it's going to get in the way because, this here. And then while I was playing with positioning, I just tried something and discovered that is actually an easier way to activate the reverse lockout than the factory collar, even before I added this on, ever was. So now I have this super spiffy button that makes it easier to shift into reverse. So absolute effing win all around. And I'm not going to hook it up to anything, obviously, now, because I don't want to activate something every time I go to put it in reverse and then forget to turn it off. So this is just going to exist as a neat little button thing that also happens to be how I put the car into reverse. So yeah, just another little spiff things. I love just finding little random things and doing some random bit like this to it. That's been honestly what's been so much fun about this project. It's just like, that thing looks neat. How do I integrate it into my design? There you go. So that's it. Talk to you later. Bye.